There's a massive revolutionary conversation happening right now in business, and you are being completely left out of it. It really pisses me off, and I want to talk about it. Everybody is talking about the 4-day work week, but no one is talking to us about it. And I want to start that conversation. I have been chronically freelance my entire life. I spent 12 years as a professional musician, going from gig to gig, booking, organising, marketing my music. I then moved into online business and brought with it that same unicorn energy of really being able to do it all. So I imagine you're probably the same if you're a web designer, a therapist, an artist, a graphic designer, a theatre producer. If you're a freelancer, a one-person business owner, or you call yourself a solopreneur, especially if you're service-based as well, you've had to learn how to do it all. And so we become these really well-skilled, well-rounded generalists. I am the marketing department, the sales department. When it comes to client-facing work, I am also delivering the work, onboarding the client, offboarding the client, and everything that happens in between. So even though you probably have expertise in a very specific place, your service, you have had to become a generalist in order to make it work as a business on your own. And that means you're really busy. That means you're working probably way more than the average 5 days a week, 9 to 5. In fact, some of you watching might be thinking, Rosie, I wish I could work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And I hear you. And if that is you, this is exactly what I want to make this video for, because I am pissed off. I am really pissed off because there's a huge conversation happening in business right now around the 4-day work week. However, the issue I have is no one is talking about us. This is a conversation built around organizations with different departments and different teams and managers. And when you work as part of an organization in a wider team, it might be global, regional, national, whatever it is a very different experience than the one that we have running our own businesses ourselves. And this is what is happening, and I am seeing the beginning of it in this 4-day workweek conversation. Multi-layered investment-backed companies are just, of course, fundamentally structured differently. But that doesn't make you or me or the next person who is freelance running it themselves any less of a business or any less important. So why are there no books or conversations or podcasts about how we as one-person business owners also benefit from this amazing idea of reducing our work week by one whole day? And look, like I mentioned, you're probably working more than 5 a week. So maybe for you, it's reducing it by 2 or even 3 days ultimately to get there. I believe it's truly possible. And it's not just because I've plucked this out my head, it's because that's what I help people do. I help people go from working 40 plus, 50, 60 hours a week down to 4 days. That's a 32-hour work week. We do it through a mixture of 3 different things: mindset, marketing, and systems. There is a way it can be done. This isn't what this video is about, though. I'm not getting into strategy today. I just want to talk about the beginnings of this conversation, and I want to introduce my mission, that I want to bring it to you. I don't see us being represented in the majority of conversations around business on the internet and beyond, especially in more kind of legacy media type spaces. But we are there and we are real. Freelancers and solopreneurs really build their business on trust. They build it on a lot of human-focused trust building. They build it on the back of hard work, of honest work, of good work. But there's way less support out there, and there's just so much pressure. And part of what has brought me to do this is because it's suffering. I feel the suffering in people. I felt it in myself. I burnt out. It was an accumulation of 15 years of being a freelancer and just grinding and grinding and grinding and believing that that was the only option I had, and seeing people with their sick pay or paid time off or benefits, holidays, retirement funds, and knowing like, okay, I've chosen a different path, but why does this feel so much harder? Like, surely there must be something missing here. And that's what I believe is missing. I genuinely believe it's the visibility, it's the conversations. We find each other in these spaces and we help each other, and we are somehow still here, and we have weathered most of the storms where even bigger companies haven't been able to. As a one-person business owner, you're probably working very leanly. As a one-person business owner, you are having to work in profit more or less from the start. That is a beautiful, wonderful thing that a lot of startups and larger companies can't always say. And it gives us a real legitimacy in business. We know how to have an idea and take it to market and make profit from it. And why are we not included in these conversations when it comes to reducing the work week so that we can have more balance, so that we can have more of a life, so that we can come back to our work and provide a better service and more value to our community and be happier people at the end? Why are we always left to ultimately suffer? I think one of the big reasons why this is happening, though, is there's a huge assumption being made. So when you go into business and you're looking for business support or even just information on YouTube, there is an assumption that all you want to do is grow, scale, make more money, make more profit, more, get bigger, do more. And for some of us, yeah, that is what you want to do. For some people, they start and their idea is to grow and scale and build this into something really big and really cool. And there's not a problem with that. But for many of us, that's not actually the goal. Many of us accidentally slide in there. That was definitely me. Every launch I done, I was like, I have to double. And I went from 5 grand in a launch to 10 grand in a launch to 20 grand in a launch. And my next launch was going to be that 40 grand launch. And I completely buckled. And then I had to eventually stop working because I was so sick. I woke up in that moment and I realized I care about just a few really true fundamental things, right? I care about making good money that gives me a comfortable lifestyle where I don't need to lie in my bed being stressed about paying the rent, where I can actually be useful to the people around me and have enough breathing space financially to enjoy my business and enjoy my life while still being dedicated to some kind of mission, because I'm a very values-oriented person, right? The second thing is I wanted to make enough money to secure my future. I know the way the world works, and as freelancers, we don't get match funding from employers into 401ks in the US or our pension plans in the UK. We got to do that ourselves. I was so time poor. I was making money, I was growing, but I was getting more and more miserable. And I had to just say no to pretty much everything. And as a side story, here's what that looked like, right? I met a gorgeous, beautiful Spanish guy who seemed to really like me as well. And we started dating. It was November and it got to January and I was about to launch for like the 5th time. And I said to him, and now when I say this out loud, I feel so stupid. Like I feel like an idiot. I feel like an idiot. I know I'm not, but I said, hey, so I run this business, right? And it's going into a really important month. So I don't think I'll be able to see you for the month because I need to work on my business. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. He thought I was absolutely mental. And he even said to me at the end of that month, like, is this a normal thing? Because I don't really know if that's something that I want, if it is. And I was like, oh my God, getting that reflected back to me was really powerful. And it made me realize, why does it matter if I make 40 grand in a launch? I can't even go on a date, or at least I've convinced myself that I can't. So when I moved into business, and of course, we want to make money, we have to make money. Money is definitely a goal, and money is not a bad thing or a bad word. But I think it's important that when we are looking on the internet for information or trying to help us, especially if you're in business right now and you're at that point of being so time poor, being so busy, you're making money, you're making good money, you can maybe see the future, the scaling in front of you, but the idea of doing more to do that, to grow, to scale, just absolutely exhausts you, that you just don't feel like you have it in you, then that could very well be what that is. And look, I'm not saying that you never have to grow. Please don't get me wrong. What I am saying is, can you take it at a slower pace? And as you take it at a slower pace, you find out how to truly manage the real workload that you need to get through to get to those goals. And then you can find a way of reducing that on an hourly scale so that you can have more breathing space, have more time to think. It makes us feel more here, more alive, more centered, more grounded, and more part of the direction of where we want to go in our lives and more in control. You deserve time. You deserve like free mornings or whatever it is that you want. You deserve it because you do work hard and you've built something and you have the skills. You've proven it already. So I am always ranting. So let me try and tie all this up. The skills that you've developed as a freelancer or a one-person business owner to get yourself from the start to where you are today in revenue, making money, really busy, but things are popping off and, you know, it's exciting, but it's exhausting. Like that is an asset. It shouldn't be a trap. This is what I help people do. And it's at that exact point that we work together. The first objection many people say, and maybe you have been listening to this and thinking, that's rubbish, Rosie, not me. I'm so busy. You've never met someone as busy as me. How could I possibly stop working a whole extra day or even 2 whole extra days? Like, this isn't a fantasy land. I'm not living in a fantasy land, I can promise you. This is the real world. But I'm telling you, it is possible. It might not feel it, and it might take 6 months of work to make that transition to get there, but it is possible. And again, the reason I know this is because that's what I help people do. And it's always the same thing, not me. Please don't misinterpret anything I'm saying or even who I am as some beach loving, a laptop wielding, you know, person on Instagram that tells you just work 2 days a week and you make millions of dollars. That is fantasy and that's complete BS. And it's ridiculous. I roll so hard, I give myself muscle strain. But what I'm saying is something that's way more realistic, way more practical, very grounded, but does involve a shift. It involves many shifts. So my mission moving forward is to keep this conversation going, to make videos about how we implement these changes, what are those shifts, and how can you take those steps to make those shifts, to have a life that just has a little bit more breathing space in it, just has a bit less stress, without taking a hit on your profit and loss as any kind of negative change, and instead feeling it in your body, because businesses are ran by humans. We are rapidly forgetting this. Human beings are behind it all. And when I'm talking to a one-person business owner or solopreneur, I am talking to a human being. What it is I love about working is people. It is people. It's usually why most of us go into these types of professions and find ourselves as a freelancer by doing. So even though the 4-day workweek conversation is starting to hit headlines and we're starting to see it cropping up here and there on our timelines, even though that is completely forgotten about us one-person business owners, freelancers, solopreneurs, I've not. And I am here to keep this conversation going, to open it up. I would love to know your thoughts on it. What is your knee-jerk gut reaction to the concept of perhaps shifting your work week down in terms of hours? Is it scary? Do you feel like it's impossible? Are you excited to buy it? Let me know. I would love to know how you feel about it. And I will be back with a future video, maybe a little bit less ranty, but I wanted to start with my values, with my mission, and just start putting this out there. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.